Why You Must Read English. Alex harbored a secret fear, a silent dread that tightened his throat whenever English words were required. He yearned to communicate freely, to articulate his thoughts without the crippling anxiety of making a mistake. The desire burned fiercely within him, a quiet desperation to truly understand and be understood in this global tongue. His mind echoed with questions. Why you must read English, everyone said, but how? He observed others, seemingly effortless in their conversations, pondering how people speak English so naturally. He felt an immense pressure, a heavy burden of expectation to perform flawlessly, yet failure always seemed to loom. Every attempt felt like a clumsy stumble, a misstep on an icy path. I don't want make mistake but I always why, he often lamented to himself, replaying awkward interactions in his head. This incessant self-critique stifled his progress, chaining him to a cycle of hesitation and regret, making every word a challenge. He craved the ability to connect, to simply, how to talk with anyone, regardless of their language. The English language, however, felt like a formidable barrier, a towering wall preventing him from engaging with a wider world of ideas and individuals, isolating him in his own linguistic bubble. The idea of how to talk to anyone in English seemed almost fantastical, a far-off dream. His fluency felt stagnant, a shallow pond instead of a flowing river. He desperately sought a path, a clear methodology, to how to improve your fluency, beyond rote memorization and grammar drills that felt dull. One rainy afternoon, seeking refuge from the persistent drizzle and his own self-doubt, Alex stumbled into a quaint, dusty bookstore. The scent of old paper and forgotten tales filled the air, a comforting aroma that gently invited him to linger, offering an unexpected respite from his linguistic anxieties. His eyes drifted across shelves laden with books, until a vibrant cover caught his attention. It wasn't a textbook, but a novel, promising a very interesting story. Skeptically, yet curiously, he picked it up, feeling an unfamiliar pull towards its narrative, a whisper of intrigue that piqued his interest. He began to read, slowly at first, deciphering words and phrases. Gradually, the characters came alive, the plot thickened, and he found himself utterly absorbed. This was different. This wasn't about grammar rules, it was about the thrill of a narrative, the joy of discovery within the pages themselves. This was his first taste of learn English through stories, a revelation that transformed his perception of language acquisition. The words were no longer abstract symbols but vibrant brushstrokes painting vivid pictures in his mind, making the learning process feel organic and surprisingly enjoyable, even captivating. The story transported him, immersing him in a world far removed from his anxieties. He forgot, for a time, his fear of mistakes, his self-consciousness melting away as he followed the protagonist's adventures. He realized English could be an escape, a portal to endless possibilities, rather than a rigid set of rules. He devoured the book, then another, and another. Each, very interesting story deepened his vocabulary and intuitive understanding of sentence structure. He wasn't studying, he was exploring, and through this exploration, his English foundation was strengthening without the explicit effort he associated with learning. The narratives provided context, making new words stick effortlessly. Phrases and idioms, once confusing, now made sense within the flow of the story. This immersive approach was a stark contrast to his previous methods, which often felt like dry, disconnected exercises, lacking any real-world application or joy. Alex started noticing how characters in the stories expressed themselves, the nuances of their conversations. This observation subtly taught him how people speak English in real, dynamic situations, giving him insights into natural dialogue patterns, intonation, and emotional expression, far beyond textbook examples. He began to mimic the dialogues he read, whispering lines to himself, practicing the rhythm and cadence. This active engagement brought the language to life in his mouth, transforming passive consumption into an interactive learning experience, building confidence in his spoken English, one phrase at a time. Inspired, Alex decided to formulate his own English study plan for talking. It wasn't about perfection anymore, it was about purposeful practice. His plan emphasized active listening, repeating dialogues, and most importantly, finding opportunities to speak, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant. He started listening to audiobooks of his favorite stories, simultaneously reading along. This dual input method helped him connect the written word with its spoken form, improving his pronunciation and listening comprehension dramatically, bridging the gap between what he saw and what he heard effortlessly. Then came the next step, talking. He began by speaking to himself in the mirror, narrating his day, describing objects around him. He consciously tried to articulate his thoughts in English, no matter how simple or broken the sentences might initially be, pushing past his deep-seated fear. He recorded his voice, listening back for areas to improve, but also celebrating every small win, every coherent sentence. This self-assessment, devoid of external judgment, built a safe space for him to experiment, to embrace the imperfections as part of the learning journey, rather than a failure. The "I don't want make mistake but I always why" thought still lingered, a stubborn shadow, but now it was accompanied by a new determination. He started telling himself, mistakes are merely stepping stones, not roadblocks. They are proof you are trying, that you are actively engaging with the language. He knew he needed real interaction to truly, how to improve your fluency. Alex decided to seek out opportunities, even small ones. He started with polite greetings at the local coffee shop, then expanded to simple questions about the weather, pushing his boundaries gradually, one step at a time. His heart still pounded when he initiated conversations, but the thrill of successful communication slowly began to outweigh the fear of error. Each small interaction, however brief, provided a burst of confidence, proving that he could indeed, how to talk to anyone in English, even if imperfectly. He joined an online language exchange group, connecting with people from various countries. The initial conversations were hesitant, often riddled with pauses and rephrased sentences, but the shared goal of practicing English created a supportive and understanding environment, fostering genuine connection. These interactions taught him that how people speak English varies greatly, with diverse accents and styles. He learned to adapt his listening, to ask for clarification without embarrassment, understanding that effective communication was a two-way street, requiring patience from both sides. He realized that native speakers often use simplified grammar in casual conversation, prioritizing clarity over strict rules. This insight liberated him from the rigid confines of perfect grammar, allowing him to focus on conveying his message effectively, making his speaking flow more naturally. The online discussions often revolved around personal experiences, current events, or very interesting story topics. This organic conversation mirrored the natural flow of real-life dialogue, making the practice feel less like a chore and more like an engaging and enjoyable social interaction. Alex also discovered the power of asking open-ended questions. This simple technique shifted the burden of speaking slightly, allowing him to listen more, learn from others' responses, and subtly improve his comprehension while giving him time to formulate his own thoughts, making conversations smoother. He noticed that the more he conversed, the less he fixated on individual words and more on the overall meaning. This holistic approach helped him to how to improve your fluency by focusing on the flow and rhythm of sentences, rather than meticulously analyzing each grammatical component. The fear of, "I don't want make mistake but I always why," gradually faded as he realized that most people were incredibly supportive and understanding. They appreciated his effort, his willingness to engage, far more than they judged his linguistic imperfections, fostering a sense of psychological safety. He found that by embracing a playful attitude towards language, mistakes became less intimidating. They were opportunities for laughter, for shared understanding, rather than reasons for embarrassment. This shift in mindset was pivotal in his journey towards true fluency and uninhibited speech. His English study plan for talking evolved from rigid exercises to spontaneous opportunities. He started watching English movies without subtitles, challenging himself to grasp the dialogue contextually, immersing himself in authentic language usage, replicating natural learning environments. He even started narrating his daily activities in his head, a continuous internal monologue in English. This constant mental practice kept his brain actively engaged with the language, strengthening neural pathways and making English a more intrinsic part of his thought process, not just a separate subject. This constant internal dialogue helped him preempt common phrases and responses, making him quicker on his feet during actual conversations. It was like rehearsing for life, gradually building an internal dictionary of usable expressions, increasing his readiness to engage confidently. Alex sought out more, very interesting story content in audio format, podcasts, interviews, documentaries. He listened while commuting, while cooking, transforming mundane moments into valuable learning opportunities, saturating his environment with the target language, enhancing passive absorption. He paid close attention to intonation and stress patterns, realizing these were crucial for conveying meaning and emotion in English. Mimicking these subtle vocal cues helped him sound more natural, more like how people speak English genuinely, adding depth to his verbal expressions. The journey was not without its plateaus. There were days when he felt stuck, when old fears resurfaced. But now, he had a framework, a proven strategy, and the memory of all the very interesting worlds he had unlocked, reminding him of his progress and the joy of the pursuit. He remembered the initial paralysis of, "I don't want make mistake but I always why," and how far he had come. Now, mistakes were simply part of the adventure, badges of honor signifying effort and growth, no longer roadblocks but stepping stones on his continuous linguistic climb. His confidence in how to talk to anyone in English soared. He found himself initiating conversations with strangers during travel, at international conferences, effortlessly bridging cultural gaps, discovering shared humanity through the medium of a language he once feared so deeply. He realized that how to improve your fluency was less about achieving perfection and more about becoming comfortable with imperfection. It was about consistent exposure, courageous practice, and a genuine love for the process of discovery, a love fueled by the captivating power of stories. The initial question, why you must read English, had transformed into a profound personal answer. Reading English had opened doors not just to stories, but to understanding diverse perspectives, to connecting with people globally, to personal growth far beyond vocabulary acquisition. He saw the world through a new lens, enriched by the nuances of the English language. His ability to, how to talk with anyone, was no longer a dream but a lived reality, a powerful tool for exploration, for learning, and for forming meaningful relationships across borders and cultures. The English study plane for talking had evolved into an unconscious habit, a natural extension of his daily life. English was no longer a subject to be studied, but a vibrant, living part of his identity, a vehicle for thought and expression, seamlessly integrated into his being. He reflected on how people speak English in their authentic settings, recognizing the beauty in its diversity, the myriad of accents, colloquialisms, and expressions. He embraced this richness, understanding that true fluency was about effective communication, not conformity to one standard. Alex often shared his story with others struggling with English, emphasizing the transformative power of engaging narratives. He encouraged them to find their own, very interesting story, and to allow it to guide their journey, to make learning a joyful pursuit, not a dreaded chore. He stressed that the, I don't want make mistake but I always why, a mindset was the biggest obstacle. He urged them to reframe mistakes as feedback, as valuable data points guiding their improvement, rather than as symbols of failure or reasons to retreat from interaction. His own journey proved that, how to improve your fluency, was a marathon, not a sprint. It required patience, persistence, and a willingness to step outside one's comfort zone, to embrace the awkwardness, and to celebrate every small victory along the way, no matter how minor. The ability to, how to talk to anyone in English, had opened up professional opportunities he never imagined. He could attend international seminars, engage with global colleagues, and access a wealth of information previously inaccessible, significantly expanding his career horizons. But more importantly, it enriched his personal life. He could fully appreciate global cinema, understand song lyrics, and communicate with travelers from around the world, making his experiences richer and more fulfilling, connecting him to a global community he cherished. He often thought back to the initial spark ignited by that first, very interesting story. It wasn't just a book, it was a catalyst, a tiny key that unlocked a vast new world of communication, confidence, and connection, proving the immense power of reading for true growth. Alex's journey demonstrated that truly learning English, especially for talking, was about far more than grammar rules or vocabulary lists. It was about finding joy in the process, embracing imperfection, and daring to speak, one courageous word at a time, connecting with others. His English study plane for talking became a living blueprint for others, a testament to the idea that consistent, enjoyable engagement, especially through compelling stories, was the most effective pathway to genuine fluency and unshakable confidence in any language endeavor. He now spoke with an effortless grace, his thoughts flowing freely, precisely as he had once dreamed. The fear had vanished, replaced by a quiet confidence, a serene assurance that he could navigate any English conversation, a true testament to his perseverance and effective learning. Alex, once tongue-tied, now conversed vibrantly, his journey illustrating how people speak English naturally, not perfectly, but passionately and purposefully. He had transformed his struggle into a triumph, becoming a fluent, confident English speaker, inspiring others along the way. His story became an inspiring testament. Why you must read English is not just for knowledge, but for the freedom to communicate, to explore, and to become a global citizen. It's about unlocking your voice, connecting with the world, and embracing the adventure of language. And so, Alex's journey, beginning with a simple, very interesting story, culminated in a life richly woven with global conversations, demonstrating that the path to English mastery is paved with courage, consistency, and the captivating magic of engaging narratives and daring to speak. His fluency was a living, breathing testament to how to improve your fluency through an integrated approach of reading, listening, and fearlessly talking. He truly embodied the transformation from hesitant learner to a confident, articulate communicator, inspiring all around him. Every day, he continued to read, to listen, to talk, understanding that learning a language is a lifelong adventure. He had found his voice, not just in English, but in the confidence and connection it brought him, making his life infinitely richer and more fulfilling, truly remarkable. No longer did the thought, "I don't want make mistake but I always why," plague him. Instead, it was replaced by a joyful curiosity and an eagerness to connect, to share, to learn from every interaction, every story, and every new person he met, a beautiful transformation. He was a living example of how to talk to anyone in English, proving that the journey is less about flawless grammar and more about genuine connection, about the courage to express oneself, and the joy of understanding and being understood, truly a remarkable feat of linguistic triumph.